Ding, Gukesh, round 10. No engines were harmed in the making of this video. Ding heard me, and I told him he should be playing either the London or the Catalan, a structure the dude understands, the kind of niggling advantages that he played so well when he was at peak Ding. So here we go. He hears me, right? And this is an interesting move. And one of the things I want to say about the opening, which went very well for Ding, is that in this position, one of the key positions in the London, one of the reasons it's so dynamic is White actually has several moves here. The C3 is the most common, but Knight D2 has its points. Knight C3 is a weird move that's even playable. And, there was a Bishop B5 thing as well. So all kinds of ideas are possible here. So it's actually difficult for Black to really dial in all of these different move orders when they play it this way. Okay, so Bishop E2, Bishop D6. Now, the problem that I thought with Bishop E2 was Queen B6, and I have no idea what Ding's intention was on Queen B6, so this would have been here. Seems far more challenging. So, for example, the very standard move C3, so instead of Bishop E2, the very standard move C3 intends, say, Queen B6, Queen B3, or something like that, or Queen C2, a way to defend the pawn without compromising our position. Also, Knight D2 has the intention of sacking the pawn in some kind of dynamic way. I think C4 is the bold move after Queen B6. But I don't know, Queen B6 here, Gukesh trusts him and plays Bishop D6. But now I felt like, oh, DC and C4, great. The opening has gone great for Ding. And let me explain. I had this position this summer against the amazing GM Larry Christensen. And it went then Bishop D6, DC, Bishop C5, and C4. I think actually Bishop E2 and then castles and then C4 would be more accurate. But the point is, White has a little something here because the bishop on C8 is poor. Now, the reason then, this should be obvious, why the Ding's variation move order is better is because Ding gets to put his knight on the more active C3 square. Great, great, Ding, you're doing great. So DC, Bishop C5, C4, great. Castles, castles, Knight C6, Knight C3. So already here, I would say, it's not amazing. I put it up 0.35 or something. He's doing good. I don't know. He's won the battle of the opening, and now Gukesh is kind of on his own. So we're playing chess. This is great. Okay. So now one thing that's a little bit weird about what Gukesh does is he plays this move very quickly, but then after the normal Bishop takes C4, he tanks. And of course, Black can do all kinds of different moves here. Okay, he plays Knight H5. I want to stress, even though this has been seen in games prior, both players they're just playing chess at this point. Okay, now I don't look at the engine, but I look at the database, and here the most common reaction for White is to do a move that makes sense. It's just to like say, oh, Rook D7 or something. Maybe your bishop's a little funny. I don't know if it's that. It doesn't seem that special for White though. Okay, so Ding plays Bishop G5. Boom. Bishop E7. Okay, good. Now, I think the best, a move that made a lot of sense here, and that is Knight E4. By the way, here we have to say that White is better because Black has two problem pieces, the knight on H5 and the bishop on C8. So Ding, you've done good, buddy. You've done good. If there's a problem, it's that this bishop doesn't quite know what its role is. Right now it's just hitting this rock. Okay. One thing I want to stress about the position is that a standard plan for White in this kind of position is to play for Queen E2, E4, E5. But here it doesn't make any sense because there's no knight on f6 to smack when we get there. And of course, he'll have knight f4 when we play e4. So knight e4, I think, is clever. And black says, okay, Baus, I'm going to play knight f6 because you got me. My knight has to go back. Here we felt this was the most critical moment for white here. And Gukesh Ding does not do anything impressive here. I actually want to, even though black hasn't made any mistakes, I really feel like this is pretty good position for Ding. I'm going to put it at like 0.6. There's a variety of plans here. First, I want to show the really ambitious plan, which was played by my friend Hrant Melkumian, and that is to play for bishop f6 and queen c2. Kind of a cool idea where we're going to whack the queen and we're going to say Baus. We are going to drive your queen away from the g5 square. I don't know, I think this is how the game went. And we're going to play this. Now, very spicy game. Not clear at all if white has something, but he is going to have a little bit of initiative. Black's claim, of course, is the dark square bishop on e7 is great, and it is. But this would be an example of a very ambitious plan for white. I came up with an idea that I was quite happy with during the game. And I don't know if I like it much better than what Ding played. Maybe it's a tactical mistake, but I haven't figured it out yet. So rook d8 and now rook d1. Maybe we could play rook ad1. We'll see. Maybe there's a difference. But in any case, the intention is that this way I'm able to hold the tension. I think I said the tension is, it's early. The idea is to hold the tension here on f6. And whenever you take on e4, I always take here, and there's a back rank problem that prevents me from just losing a piece. And so here I feel like white is better, maybe 0.6 or something. It's a very pleasant position. If bishop d7, we have several moves, but definitely this knight d6 thing comes to mind. Okay, so one of the basic questions that both players are dealing with here is how strongly do we feel about the double pawns? And I was doing the commentary with David Proust. He was always saying to himself, oh, these double pawns, they mean something. I was like, nobody. They don't mean anything. And I especially don't like the way that Ding played it. He goes snip and snip and snip. And to me, this was fully equal. So we're going all the way down to 0. Because the pawns aren't people, by the way. They're not the protagonists in this fight. The question are the pieces. And so this piece is now dominated by this pawn, and this bishop on c4 still hasn't figured its life out. So there's no real problems for black in this position. Rook fd1, bishop d7, rook c1. I feel this move, rook c1, is very unambitious because there's no huge sauce on the c file for any foreseeable future. Bishop e8 and another soft move, snip snap, king f1. So let's just say at this point David was still trying to convince me that white had something because of the pawns, and I was like, no. And furthermore, I was like, dude, Ding is just playing for a draw here. He's not even trying. And David was like, no, it's not true. It's not true. It can't be true. And unfortunately, it's true. Unfortunately, it's true. By the way, something I want to stress is a pattern that this game followed, if we look at the time graph real quick here, is that Ding got himself in a little bit of pressure early on with the clock. And then, like all these other games, he then plays quick and accurate moves and no problemo, right? So this is a typical pattern we're seeing in game after game. Okay, so this position, I felt black had a variety of moves, and kind of to tease David, I was just like, okay, you get to make 5 moves, buddy. You get to make 5 moves. You show me how you can radically improve your position. And no, I gave him 5 moves and was not significantly better for white. Okay, so king f8, I think knight e5. All of these are fine for black. Knight e5 to me feels like just the simplest. King g7 was played. And I was already like, okay, maybe his intention is to play knight e5 next. But no, he plays f5. And f5 is a little bit, I have a feeling some old GMs in his camp were like, oh, Gukesh, what are you doing, buddy? What are you doing? In general, we don't want to put our pawns on the same color as our bishop. So this felt a little frisky. King e1, so that the bishop can come back. The bishop, as we said, isn't doing much. Bishop e2. And now Gukesh thought for 11 minutes, and arguably this is a point of maturity here, because dude, he likes to get frisky. And I was like, is he really intending e5? You know, and the problem with e5 is this old saying that from Nimzovich that weakened pawns get weaker as they progress up the board, and you can kind of see it. So like with e5, if you're going to do it, it would be to like push the knight away. And yeah, you push the knight away, but after say g3, these pawns are really poor. Then I would begin to say, oh, this kind of pawn weakness maybe is something. So Gukesh pulls it together. You know, in the past we've seen he'll go for a win when he maybe shouldn't. Plays knight e7, another tame move, rook c8, snip snap, and now we're just gonna, Ding is just piecing out here with knight c4. Now we're just gonna make some moves. And the game is going to be a draw. Ding isn't even going to try. So the obvious thing to say is, a couple obvious things. Ding is in this match. We only have 4 games left, and he's in it without the ability to play for a win. And let me just describe this. One of the reasons back in the day we had grandmaster draws was that a player realized the amount of energy it would take to win a position with a small edge against a strong opponent. It's just grinding and grinding. The amount of energy is extreme. And the confidence you need to pursue those positions, also extreme. Ding doesn't have the confidence. And so it looks like this is like the first London game where he repeated in a position where he was better. This feels very much the same. So that's a remarkable thing. It has to do with his psychology. I feel like no one has figured it out. Ding hasn't certainly figured it out, what's going on with himself, right? We have various psychologists on the sidelines trying to figure it out. They also don't know. When Ding is pushed to the defense, then his fight or flight is there and he's playing wonderful chess. But when he has the advantage, no puedo play, no puedo play. And it's kind of gross and it's kind of sad, but here we are. 4 games left. There's definitely drama. Gukesh needs to win this. And I feel like morally, he deserves to win this match after this kind of sad play by Ding. But it's, you know, he has to do it, my friends. He has to do it. So there we are. And I just want to end with a simple thought. When we did our coverage of all the world championships in history, we really disliked this kind of format precisely because you could reach 14 games and go to some ridiculous rapid tie break without even winning. Come on. Fischer said, and this is what they did back in the day. So when Fischer implemented this, he was hearkening back to like the days of Steinitz and beyond, where you had to win a certain amount of games. And Fischer was like, dude, you got to win 6 games. Can you imagine how long and how interesting, how like grueling and like human inspirational story it would be if we had to win 6 games here? Oh man, what a great match it would be. But here we are. Anyways, 4 games left, still a lot of tension, and we'll see you tomorrow.